One. Boom. And we're on. Aaron, thank you so much for hanging out. Aaron, before we kind of get into things, I'd love for you to introduce yourself because people who follow me might not know you. And then we'll kind of go from there. We have some touch points. But yeah, please tell the people who you are and a bit about yourself.
Cool. First of all, I will say thank you so much for having me, giving me a voice. I really appreciate this. You are someone that I look up to in many ways. You are someone that I consume content from because you're authentic and you actually care, and I could feel that in your content. Mm-hmm. My name is Aaron. I'm 30 years old, citizen of the world, but I live in Canada in the present time. Born and raised in Canada, but I like to identify myself as an American, kind of like culturally at times,
I feel
in the way I speak. Like the forward thinking, like let's get after it type thing. Mm-hmm. I've done a lot of things in my life. I was an actor for 10 years, still am in a certain way. Currently running an offer where I help women unlock their full potential.
Cool.
I help them attract the kind of partner that they want. And a lot of the content I talk about is just like self-realization, getting down into the nitty-gritty, and just becoming an overall better person.
Dude, it's funny you say that thing about the American stuff, because in June I was on a retreat with my buddies in Thailand, and I was trying to think. There was actually a mix of us. A couple of us were Canadian, one was from Belgium, and the other two were American. And one of the Americans was saying he was playing pool at a bar, and the British people there, because there are a ton of British people in Thailand, were giving him a hard time for being American. They were making fun of him, and he said like he just totally kicked their ass, and it made him super proud to be an American for the first time, almost ever. And I looked at him, I was like, dude, I'm proud to be an American, and I'm not even American.
I feel that. I definitely feel that.
Because I think one of the things that I appreciate about America is, love it or hate it, it's very clear what the values are of what it was built on. Liberty, ambition, freedom, advancing, pushing forward, achieving success. And it comes with its detriments, obviously. Like, people are like, oh, Americans kill themselves in the 9-to-5 for a pension that doesn't exist and the economy's ruined. And I agree with that. But at least you know what it stands for. And I don't think Canada actually has like very clear values, which is kind of why I think it's in the position it's in.
Well said. And, growing up in Canada, I remember we would, sing the national anthem, and I felt proud to be a Canadian. For a very long time, I did feel that pride. I did see Canadian flags, different places, and I was proud to say I'm Canadian. Once I started traveling, as I know you travel a lot too, I would tell people I'm Canadian, and the response I would get would be amazing. And I'm like, oh, so the way we're perceived is really good. But then through the years, as of late, especially the whole, the virus thing, perception has kind of changed. And now I feel as though the overall population, as we were speaking about before, they're not as proud because they don't know what they're supposed to be proud of. And we've brought a lot of people in that don't feel Canadian.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of become this melting pot of uncertainty.
Yeah, every man for themselves kind of thing. And dude, you're so right, because I assume your parents are immigrants, right?
Yes.
It's a fair assumption to make. Okay, mine too. And when they came here, like, we assimilated into the culture. Now, they didn't pass on the culture as well as I would have liked them to, which is my responsibility to pick up now that I'm an adult and have free will. But it's interesting that you say that, because I agree. People have a great perception of what it means to be Canadian, but I think because the identity isn't very clear, when things get hard, it's like, well, who are you? Like, what do you fall back on? And if there are a lot of pockets of people operating with their own interest in mind, it's hard to have unity. And it makes sense why the country's in the place that it's in right now. You know what I mean? And so I'm not even going to say, like, I'm still proud to be Canadian. I'm really glad I grew up in Canada. It didn't have to be Winnipeg, Mom and Dad. Like, you guys could have picked a better spot. That one I'm not as proud of. The country, yes. The city, no.
Builds character, though, man. That cold? Holy moly.
It's funny because I have to hold myself back from every 10 minutes telling my girlfriend's family, like, this weather's nothing. Oh, it's only -2. I grew up in -30. They're like, yeah, we know. You tell us all that. It's like that meme of the guy at the party in the corner. He's like, they don't know I grew up in Winnipeg and went to school in -40. And then they're like, yes, we do. You literally say it every 3 minutes.
Well worth it. And I think there's a couple of things that popped up for me, and just FYI for your audience and for you as well, like, my mind goes in a bunch of different places, and
perfect.
It's in the same kind of category. So what I'll say is the first part, the not knowing what we're supposed to be proud of, is analogous to people that aren't confident in life because they haven't decided their values and principles, made a clear decision, and then started practicing those and repeating themselves to themselves that this is what it means to be Nicholas. This is what it means to be Aaron. This is who I'm identifying with at this present time. And as Americans have it. I've spent a lot of time in America as well, and with Americans, they know what they're proud of, and they repeat it to themselves often, and so it gives them intentionality and alignment as to how to be the best version of that. And so if we can think about a human, a person, decide on what it means to be a good version of you, the 2.0 version, and just do that.
Yeah. And the one thing, this kind of relates back to the Founders Circle call we had this morning. The one thing I really appreciate about Americans is they don't ask for permission to be themselves.
Yes.
Like, a lot of people around the world really hate America. A lot of people, even as I travel, they're like, oh, thank God you're Canadian and not American. And I'm like, well, why don't you like America? And they give me their reasons, and they're valid, right? Like, you're allowed to not like certain people. But regardless of whether or not people like you for being who you are, a lot of Americans are like, no, I'm going to be who I am anyways. And I think part of why Canada's in the position it's in is because it has perpetual nice guy syndrome. Like, for the longest time, at least what I experienced growing up, and a lot of people I've talked to resonate with this, the culture of Canada was, at least we're not those idiots down there. At least we're not America. Those uncultured fools south of us, at least we're not them. But that's not an identity. Like, sure, it helps to get clear on what you don't want to be, but if you don't actually replace that ideal with, well, who do I want to be? If you're like, well, I don't want to be an asshole. Okay, if you're a nice guy, if you're nice and get along well with other people, okay, you're not an asshole, but you're not being the kind of person who you need to be in order to get the goals you want. That's not going to be the kind of person that attracts the dream woman you want. That's not going to be the kind of person who attracts the level of money that you really desire. That's not going to be the kind of person that attracts the opportunities that you actually want if all you focus on is not being an asshole. Because there are so many other traits outside of that fall in line with not being an asshole. That what are you really? There's like 100 different options you could be from not being mean. Are you kind? Do you have a backbone? Are you conscientious? Are you compassionate? Are you empathetic? Are you thoughtful? Do you think big? Are you ambitious? Are you courageous? Like, what are you? So if all you focus on, like, well, I don't want to be that. Okay, cool. That's a starting point. But it can't be everything because it's incomplete.
Very well said. That reminds me of the concept of the law of attraction, where you focus on what you want and what you don't. And it also reminds me why it actually is more effective to encourage and reward positive behavior than it is to punish bad behavior. Because if I have a kid, right, or you have a kid and your kid does something bad and you hit them because they're not supposed to do that thing, well, they're still unclear as to what they should be doing. So if you can just look for the good parts and say, great job for doing this, it'll encourage them to do it again and again. And again, that's clarity, as opposed to thinking, we don't want to be like those guys. Well, you're focused on another person or another country. What do you want to be? And it just makes things a lot simpler that way, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it's funny you say that because I think a lot of Canadians during the last election, and look, I think politics is ultimately a dirty game, and what goes on behind curtains that we don't see influences a lot of what happens, and so I think it's relevant to not push your head in the sand, but to also understand that, like, I am the maker of my own reality. Like, can I channel God through me and focus on what's my highest version, et cetera, et cetera. But a lot of Canadians, when the election came around, were like, we don't want Trump to influence us. And I'm like, that's the president of a whole other country. And yes, it impacts us because we're right next to them. They're a big powerhouse in the world. There's a lot of trade and a lot of involvement with the States. But like, that is a completely different person in a completely different election, running a completely different country. And if like that's your main focus, okay, either way, who won? We didn't get Trump literally because he's not the president or he's not the prime minister. He's the president of America. But like, what direction are you going in if all you say is, well, not him, well, not this, well, not that? There needs to be some level of like cohesive strategy. Okay, not this. So instead, this. It's like you've read Reality Transurfing, right?
Yes, love that book.
They talk about the lifeline that you're on or the timeline that you're on coincides directly with the energy of your thoughts. And if you think about something, even if you say, I don't want that, you're thinking about it. And you're putting yourself on the timeline where that becomes your reality. How many people who are overweight do you talk to? I wish I wasn't fat. I hate being fat. I'm a fat piece of shit. Fuck, I hate how fat I am. How come you haven't lost the weight? And of course, there's levels to it. You know, self-image. Do you think you're worthy of it? What triggers are associated with getting in better shape and eating healthy foods? But the starting point is like, I focus so much on being fat and how much I hate it. And my mind likes the familiarity. So you need to break the pattern by thinking about what you do want.
It's so key, man. And I think it's so simple, yet it's not easy, because rewiring your thoughts to the thoughts that you want of that dream version of yourself, that dream concept that you hold of yourself, is it takes a lot of work. It's probably the hardest thing that I've ever done in my life in terms of like effort spent. And you got to know that it's possible first. You got to know that you can rewire it and that it does have a positive effect on your life. But when you're actually in it and you don't have belief and you don't see money in your bank account and you don't see the partners that you want, it almost feels like there's no way. And that's why the comfortable position is like, I'm just going to keep thinking like I've always thought. And what happens if you keep doing that? You keep having the same results as you've always had.
Yeah, no, 150%, man. And in order to, they say, in order to live a 1% life, you must be willing to do what 99% of people aren't.
Love that.
So at the end of the day, you can talk about how much you hate this and how much you hate that, or even how much you hate a person, right? You've seen people talk so badly about their ex. My ex is such a piece of shit. My ex is such a loser. My ex is such a bitch. She's so crazy. What is unresolved in you that causes you to focus so much on your ex? Because I'm sure you've went through bad experiences. I'm sure you've experienced things you didn't like, and I have too. But my dating life never got better until I went, okay, there's one common denominator. This person. Yes. And so, okay, if I'm dealing with women who I don't like how they treat me, how am I treating myself? If I feel like, oh, I'm dating somebody she doesn't respect me, well, do I respect myself? Because somebody who respects himself would exit the situation. And then you don't need to be an asshole. You don't need to be mean about it or like, fuck this bitch, No, it's just like, hey, look, this isn't what I want. And if this is a dynamic that you want, that's okay. It's not what I want. So if we can't come to a meeting place where everybody gets what they want out of the deal, I'm going to leave. And not from a like, fuck you, bitch, but just like, hey, this isn't for me. And you're allowed to want the things you want, but I'm not going to stand in the way of that. Absolutely.
And it's this thing that I actually learned from this one girl that I was seeing. A big concept that's kind of stayed with me throughout this year, actually, is she told me that she loves everybody unconditionally. And at first I was like, I don't believe that, because when you're with a man romantically, you're going to love him conditionally. He provides, he has, a stoic mentality, he has resources, whatever the case is. But she said, no, I don't have to be with the person. I can still love them from afar conditionally.
Yeah.
And I really like that concept because it's like, it all comes down to standards. Dating, health, money, whatever you want to put a label on, it comes down to the standard of what you hold for that particular thing. For you, the standard of cold is probably a lot higher than the regular person because you grew up in really fucking cold weather. So you're like,
I grew up in Winnipeg.
Oh, yeah, good. I honestly forgot. No, I'm kidding.
You're welcome.
So when it comes to dating, it's the same thing, dude. It's like a lot of the clients that I'll take on, the first thing I got to do is rewire the way they're thinking about things. Where, okay, I don't want this. All my exes have been like this. It's like, okay, I understand. Great context. Thanks for telling me, but let's shift the focus. What do you want, actually? What is a good quality? You should know your red flags, so when you identify them, you can just, cut the guy off at that point. But you also got to know what you're looking for. What are the green flags? Which I think Tony Robbins said this, and it's such an amazing quote. It's like, average people spend 90% of the time in their focus and their thinking on the problem and 10% on the solution, whereas successful people spend 90% of the time on the solution and solving the problem and 10% of the time on the actual problem. So it's just where you focus your mind, and that takes training to do that.
No, dude, totally. And I think I completely lost what I was going to say.
The bars hit heavy.
Yeah, dude, it's so heavy. I can't fucking remember what I was trying to get at.
Presence.
But yeah, it's very interesting with. Oh, this is what I was going to say. So I find that, and this is kind of going to flow into some of the things that we talk about. Marketing, dating, and personal development all kind of intersect. So like, there's three major marketing principles I use, and I think they apply in life. So there's the levels of awareness, right? Unaware, problem aware, solution aware, product aware, most aware. So unaware means they don't know they have a problem. So talking to somebody like that is much different than somebody who's like, Aaron, I know what you sell, I want to buy right now, which is most aware. Problem aware means, okay, I know I have a problem. What are the solutions, though? I don't even really know if there are solutions. Okay, I'm fat. I know I'm fat. What do I do, though? Solution aware means, okay, I know there are solutions. I just don't know exactly what they are or which one's the best for me. Product aware means, okay, I know Aaron has a solution for my problem. Most aware is like, yeah, I know everything about it. I'm ready to go. How you talk to everybody on those scales is different. But there's another thing that I think a lot of people in marketing don't talk about, which is super key and also relates to what you just said with how you talk to others and how you talk to yourself, which is the levels of consciousness. And there's no like step 1 through 5 with this because it's a bit more metaphysical and it's harder to grasp as like a strategy. But how you talk to your audience determines what kind of people you attract. If you talk to people like they're fucking idiots, you will attract fucking idiots. If you talk to people like they're responsible, accountable decision makers, the odds of you finding responsible, accountable decision makers is so much higher. And so with dating, like you said, okay, my ex is like this, my ex is like that. Okay, cool. One, your exes are great teachers in your life and helped mold and shape you because you also chose those relationships. Unless you didn't, but that's, a very, very different situation that doesn't apply to what we're talking about. But also, how do you talk to yourself? And how do you treat yourself? Because if you just think that I'm just going through life, why do I just attract assholes? Okay, guess who's going to be next in line? Another asshole. Because you tell yourself that's what I attract, and I'm not doing any work deeper than that to figure out what the hell it is that I'm doing and why this is the result that I'm getting. But if you're like, hey, okay, if I talk to myself like the best version of myself, the version of myself who attracts a man or woman who is loving, kind, respectful, we get along well, we tell funny inside jokes, we support each other, they always have my back. Okay, now who do I need to be in order to attract that person? How do I need to talk to myself? How do I need to think about myself? Because if I say, like, hey, I want all these things, but I think I'm a fucking piece of shit and I don't deserve it, and, well, who would love me anyways? Well, there's your answer. So it's all in, like, I think the levels of consciousness are so underutilized and underanalyzed by people in terms of how effective it is to get to where you want to go.
I think this is such an important message for anybody, because it's something that a lot of people don't think of. And I wrote these down, and I've heard of this before, but I love the way you just articulated it right now. When I first started making content, I feel like I was very honest and I was speaking as to where I was. But then getting into the whole business side and trying to make money online with the content, I, for some reason, dumbed myself down, where when I was speaking to people, when it was my fitness offer a while back, I was speaking to people that had no idea about fitness, but those were not the kind of clients I wanted. I wanted clients that had money, had a little bit of experience, they've maybe tried the gym and they haven't gotten the results that they wanted. Mm-hmm. So the cool thing is, once you do speak to people like they're smart, then those are the kind of people you're going to bring in. And I'm really thankful and appreciative of the universe, to myself or whatever, for the audience that I've been able to attract, because they are higher consciousness people. Especially within my community, I vet everybody, where it's like, you need to be a certain kind of person. You need to have a certain kind of way of thinking for you to even be a part of this. Sure, there's room for growth, but like, if you're not positive, if you don't think that you can do this, if you don't have a growth mindset, it's probably not going to work. So extremely important point. And the levels of consciousness, I think once you understand that you can alter your consciousness levels, this is something I've understood for a very long time, because I consider myself a little bit of a psychonaut. I like to explore my mind. A psychonaut's like a Reddit term of like someone that likes to explore, an astronaut of the mind, let's say.
Sure.
So I've done many different psychedelics in order to experience the vast network of universal consciousness, and I've experienced so many different levels of, like, from the very bottom of shame, guilt, regret, to like the very top being like bliss, the feeling of is like inevitability, like just being so like wow, just like not being able to just even comprehend what is going on.
Yeah, articulate.
And I mean, that's what enlightenment, at least what they talk about theoretically, that's what it is, right? You don't judge anything based off of good or bad. It just is perfect.
Yeah, and I'm sure you've read David Hawkins then. Yeah,
yes.
Of course. Great author. And so I actually think that this was such a big unlock for me, because for a while it was really easy for me to get worried about the state of the world. What's happening in the state of the world? Why is there so much inflation? Why are people so depressed? Why do things seem like they're just getting worse and there's no end in sight? And so I used to like worry about politics and this, that, and how do we fix it and blah, blah, blah. I always would get lost in these rabbit holes and these anxiety spirals. And the one thing that started to give me great comfort, and I'm starting to settle more into the, like, feeling this, like actually knowing it, is that the best thing you can do, and this, biggest picture possible, to alter the universe and, connect with God and change things on a grand scale. But this comes down to any situation, if you're working a job, if you run a business, if you're in a relationship, all you can do is focus on yourself and relating to your energetic state. Because if you can't relate to it, if you have no awareness around it, then you can't change it. So you can't go from shame to love. You can't go from, bitterness or apathy to courage to peace. And so I think that, because David Hawkins says in Power versus Force, one person operating at the frequency of love has the ability to impact 750,000 people in a positive way. And so instead of running around and trying to fix other people and, fix policy with all these bureaucrats and the big system and whatever, it's actually far more effective to work on yourself, because people can really feel that instead of listening to people who are yelling. And again, it's not to say that everybody in politics has nefarious intentions or trying to implement change or trying to go out and do philanthropy is bad. But the foundation of everything you do is yourself. And so if that's your calling, if that's your mission, make sure that it comes from a place of like aligned action and like really knowing who you are and working on altering your energetic state before you go out and try to change the world, right? If everybody cleaned their doorstep, the whole world would be clean.
Mm. I really like this. And I got a question for you. As someone that's hyper aware of this, someone that understands the levels of consciousness, you're well read on this topic, you meditate often, it's a part of your identity, you journal and reflect often, again, that's a part of who you are as Nicholas. I guess a two-part question. First is like, how did you even find this sort of world? How why is this like important even for you? And second part to that is like, when you find yourself in like a lower level of that consciousness, because you can feel the different sides, how do you bring yourself back up?
That's a good question. So the first part is how I even got interested in this and how this became important to me was I experienced a large level of pain, and that's usually what it takes to get out of the hypnotic state of day-to-day activities. I was running an agency, and it was, by my standards, it was doing quite well. It was the first business I ever ran. We did 20 to 23K a month Canadian total, and there was a point in time where I thought I was on top of the world because money was coming in. But my internal state was extremely hectic. It's part of the reason why the business never really took off in the way I wanted it to, because I didn't actually know what there was to do, because all I focused on was shiny object syndrome. I'm not worthy of love. I got to do this. Oh, well, this strategy's not working in 3 days. Let me do another thing. Let me put down money on more coaching, because I don't actually trust myself. Investing in coaching and mentorships is extremely valuable, and I say this as talking to somebody who runs like coaching / mentorship offer. I say this as somebody who's launching my own thing. I say this as somebody who's met some incredible coaches. But it's all about the energy, right? If you go to the gym because I'm a fat piece of shit and I hate myself and I'm going to shove my fingers down my throat later because I don't deserve to eat food and I don't deserve to feel good things, but I can't keep myself away from those triggers, that's much different from I'm going to the gym because I love myself. I want to get in great shape because it makes me feel good. I love looking at how I look in the mirror. I love feeling good about myself. Those are two completely different things. So the energy that I was coming from the coaching was, I don't trust myself. And that's different from, I want to learn something. I want to expand my vocabulary. I want to deeply relate to this topic. I want to expand my skill set. From, I don't trust myself, please fix me. I don't know what I'm doing and I don't deserve this. Here's my credit card. Please fix me. That's where I was coming at it from. So it got to the point where I was in a relationship and it deteriorated so much to the point where I had to go to the hospital a couple times, and it wasn't from anything between us. I just was in a lot of mental pain, and it manifested into physical pain. And it was a great teacher, that relationship, but ultimately there was a lot of turmoil under the surface. It seemed like on the surface level that we got along and there were a lot of things we had in common, but it just wasn't fitting. It just wasn't fitting. And that's not to say anything bad about the person I was with. It taught me a lot about myself, and I have no ill will towards her, and we buried the hatchet and it's all good. But it's just to say that I realized I couldn't continue on going, okay, so I'll just be honest. I started feeling this electric shock in my testicle. Literally. Like, I was hanging out watching football one day, just felt this tingle. No, I'm kidding. But I was just like, I felt like, oh, maybe I was sitting on myself funny. Like, I was just in a lot of pain. I was like, I'll just go to bed, whatever. And I like went, got ready for bed, and I woke up in the middle of the night, and I just felt like it. Like literally like this pounding, like somebody had a shock collar around it and was just like hitting the button over and over at like 3 a.m. And so I was like, what the fuck? Let's go to the hospital. Guys, like, you're probably fine. I'm like, okay. I go to the walk-in clinic, and I knew deep down, as soon as I felt the pain, I was like, I can't keep living this way. I can't keep living in this emotional state, because it's literally killing me. And I believe that when you ignore a certain part of your psyche, when you ignore a certain part of your soul and your emotions, it manifests in different parts of the body accordingly. So I'll kind of get to the end of it because there's a lot of stuff in between. But basically, when I was at the doctor's office, it didn't hurt and there was nothing wrong. But as soon as I left, the pain flared up even worse. And I didn't know what to do with myself. I got to the point where I was like pounding Tylenol and like hyperventilating because I thought I was going to pass out. So I ended the relationship, and it was difficult, but I did what I had to, and the pain was so great. And I realized that through a deep dive with psilocybin, and I have a mentor that I talk to, and a lot. That's when I started meditating and journaling. That was February 12th, 2024. Because I was like, I can't keep doing this. Like, very clearly there's something going on that I'm not seeing, and I want to commit to this. So today's 667 days in a row of meditating and journaling every day. Thank you. Thank you. Today's recording day is December 11th, 2025. Wow. And yeah, I just got to the point where I was like, I need to know what's going on, because this is clearly impacting my life in so many different ways that I'm not seeing. And meditation and journaling became, I had done breathwork before, and I had done meditating and journaling before, but until I hit that pain point, I was non-committal. I was non-exclusive with inner work. You know what I mean? I was just very, it's kind of cool, but like, it works for other people. I don't really need to love myself. My needs don't matter. I don't have needs because I'm a man, right? Men shouldn't have needs. We shouldn't talk, and we don't have emotions. And but at that point, it was kind of like, okay, I need to take this seriously. So I started doing breath work more regularly. I started doing meditation, journaling. I went on retreats. I started fasting. That's when I started getting really interested in fasting. I started doing 24 hours, then 40 hours. I've done a couple 48 now. No flavor, nothing, just water, salt.
Amazing.
It's incredible. And then I kept doing psilocybin deep dives. I think I do about like 1 or 2 a year, maybe. Energy work, all this stuff. Like, really just threw myself headfirst into it. And it wasn't from a place of, it slowly came from like, I need to fix this, to I just want to see what's going on. Because there's nothing really wrong with me. I just learned all this bullshit that I need to unlearn. And I need to get back to the natural state of, when I was a kid, I wasn't worried about, do I look stupid, and do I feel like an idiot, and do I feel fat, and blah, blah, blah. It was just like, I want to hang out, and I want to play, and I want to explore things, and I want to be curious. And so to answer your second part of your question, how do I get out of that low frequency state? The first thing I do is I don't try to push it away, because it's telling you something, right? I think one of the biggest misunderstood emotions in the world is anger. And especially as a guy, like, because I'm a big dude. If I get angry, I feel like, I literally feel hot. I start sweating, and I can feel it radiating off me. It was such an uncomfortable feeling for a long time. And I know women struggle with it too, but there's different ways to relate to it based on your experience and who you are and all that stuff. But for a while, I never wanted it, because I felt like the Hulk, you know what I mean? Like this beast, and like, I'm going to hurt people, and I'm this angry, terrible person. But now it's like, okay, you're angry. What are you angry about? Something wrong with being angry. It's just telling you something. Okay. And first, like, let's go through the surface level stuff. Are you hungry? Are you tired? Have you drank water? Have you exercised? Okay, yes to all of those. Okay, what's really going on? And because I've meditated and journaled so much, it allows me to really get to the root of the problem. It's not just like, I'm having a bad day. It's like, well, I feel out of alignment with this certain area in my life, and I know I'm not being who I need to be. And then I can deal with it, right? And so it's funny, I'll say this, and then I have a question for you. I love my relationship so much right now because we have such great communication. There's such incredible respect for each other, especially with what we're going through. But that wouldn't have happened if I didn't learn how to talk to myself when I'm angry. That wouldn't have happened if I didn't learn how to relate to myself when I was going through shit. And it's the same thing with her. She did a ton of inner work before we started dating. She wouldn't have been able to attract somebody like me, who's perfect, obviously. She wouldn't be able to attract the relationship that we have if she didn't do the work on herself in order to figure out what she's going through and like really sit with it. So the first thing I'd say is like, sit with it. Don't push it away. Just feel it. And then get curious. Okay, what is this? Why is this here? What's this trying to show me? And then if it's really overwhelming, practice breath work. That'll be the next thing I say. Or like, if you have the means, if you're angry, scream. Go scream, like really scream, like from your root, not like, like from your voice. Like, no, like really get into it. I went on a retreat once. They taught me how to scream and how to be mad and how to hit stuff. Wow. I was like, this is fucking stupid. Like, it gets memed online where you see the guys in the forest and they're like holding each other down and they're like crying and people are like, look at these fucking idiots. But it works. Like, screaming actually works because whatever doesn't get expressed gets stored in the body. So if you went through all this crazy shit, let's say your ex cheated on you and your parents hit you when you were a kid and your business failed and you feel like a failure, you trying to build on top of that, like that's the foundation and that's currently living in your body. You need to excavate. You need to get that shit out of there and then start building. And that's scary because it's not a quick process. But I think it's the only sustainable way forward. And I think that starts with breath work. And if you're sad, if you're angry, just scream. Like, hit a pillow. Go to a boxing gym. Hit a bag. Like, do Muay Thai. Do Jiu-Jitsu. Do something aggressive. Like, go sprint. Sprinting actually was one of the things I loved doing. I was feeling super pent up when I was in Germany because there's so many things triggering me. I was like, I'm just going to go sprint and just really fucking go at it. And that, for me, tapped into something. Some people love to dance, but you just have to embody it. Like, dancing for me has helped, but not as much as more aggressive activities. Muay Thai, sprinting, weightlifting, screaming, something in that realm. But just you need to find a way to embody it, and then it moves through you, and then you're like, oh. Because before I ask you a question, some people say that when you're with a woman and she's like really in the heat of an emotional reaction, and not to say like women are emotional no, of course not, but just like when she's really going through it, you're not supposed to fix, you're just supposed to be the lighthouse in the storm and be there for her. You're not going to be able to do that for a woman and really be able to show up for her and be curious with her and help her navigate her storm if you can't do it for yourself. There's so many moments where I've noticed I'm really pissed off and I sit through it. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm fine. If my girlfriend's going through it and I know she needs somebody to talk to and I know she needs somebody to rely on, okay, just hang out. Just be patient with her. Like, see what's going on. And of course, if there's something deeper, okay, we can discuss it, but just be there for her. Like, be the rock. And I wouldn't have been able to do that if I didn't learn how to do that with myself.
Nicholas, so good. So good, dude. You just dropped like priceless value right there. And that video that you just kind of going off right there should be watched by people that are experiencing some of those symptoms as well. I'm not just saying that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
There was so much wisdom that just came out of you right now, and it's evident that you've done the work. People always talk about done the work, right? I want to touch on a couple of things there. So
Yeah,
you mentioned, having a symptom that manifested from pain, from illness, or whatever. That's called psychosomatic in psychology, right? In clinical psychology, they will call that a psychosomatic symptom because it's in the mind. It's like not something that's actually there. It's something that you've manifested through your body, telling you literally, like, dude, like, what else can I do? Your balls now are tingling. You got to fix this, man.
Yeah.
Crazy thing is, you went to the doctor, it stopped because whether it's the universe, whether it's God, whether it's you, it's telling you that this is not somebody else's problem to fix. This is yours.
Yeah.
And so you had to figure it out.
Yeah.
You mentioned you attract what you are. Life is a mirror. Before, when you were in the state of maybe a lower level of consciousness, not as self-aware, you attracted a partner like that. Life is the greatest teacher. You made the decision not to stay in that relationship. Unfortunately, a lot of people end up staying in relationships that don't serve them because they don't know the other side. And so you did the work, you did whatever you had to do, and guess what happened? You attracted a woman just like that. It's beautiful, and you can see the night and day, and it makes you appreciate her this much more, having the fact that you've already been through that. And then another thing that you mentioned is, like, essentially follow nature, something that all of the greatest teachers, something that the Stoic philosopher Seneca talks about this a lot, is like, follow nature. And what that means is, like, the primal stuff that you were mentioning, screaming, laughing, playing, feeling all of your emotions, that's primal. And that's what feels the best, especially for, I mean, I can't say especially for men. I just know my feeling of being a man. That's how it feels. Yeah. And for us to mitigate certain feelings of stress, sometimes we need to do really hard things. We got to exhaust the body to tame the mind. Whereas for a woman, sometimes dancing and flowing and crying and co-regulating helps them. Whereas for us, it's like sitting in it, swimming in the emotions of whatever we're supposed to feel. And instead of being judgmental, be curious, like you said, and I absolutely love that. I think that was really, really good.
Yeah, no, thanks, man. I'd like to ask you something. I have notes on my end as well. I think that it's really interesting watching your evolution from fitness to dating, and now it's like a mix of dating, fitness, law of attraction, subconscious work. I feel like those things cross at a very interesting intersection with content. In that, if you aren't clear with who you are and what you're trying to achieve, none of it's going to work. How have you found all of those journeys in the last couple of years? Do they feed into each other? And how have you felt that it's helped your content and helped your business and helped your overall life?
When I started making content about fitness, the alignment wasn't really there because although fitness is a huge part of my life, I do consider myself a fit person. I go to the gym very often, and I have for years. I never saw myself as a fitness influencer or a fitness creator. Could be from a place of lack, because maybe I feel like I don't have the greatest physique, the whole comparison thing. Maybe it could be because I felt like I have a stronger voice than just the fitness aspect. Because since I was like 18, I've been reading about all this stuff that I talk about in my content now. I just never thought people really gave a shit about that, or other people wanted to know. How I got here was that I decided when I was in Brazil, I was in Florianopolis. I spent a little over a month there last year. I was listening to this podcast, and this guy was talking about how when it comes to content, the best thing to do is for 30 days make, different pillars of content, and then on the fourth day, every day make a different pillar, but on the fourth day talk about something random that you're interested in. And so at the time, and still now, I was working for a matchmaking company, and I still do, but I remember getting off a call with some guy, and he was telling me about what he's looking for in a woman. Context, most of the guys I speak to are, successful entrepreneurs, guys like you and me, doing pretty well for themselves that just haven't found that woman yet. And so he said something, or he said a collection of things that was pretty much the same as every other guy I speak to. I mean, if I were to ask you the kind of woman you're looking for, like, what are some general things you would mention?
Kind, warm, loving, respectful, communicates well, knows herself, trusts me, wants to think big and trusts herself, wants to live a life that's not typical.
Dude, literally that. Like, literally this. And I'm having the same conversation 5 to 10 times a day with guys that are all making money, that are all the 1%, high value, whatever you want to call it. And then I got off the call, and I'm like, fuck, maybe there's a woman on TikTok that would actually like to know this. And since my content is always give, like, let me give you something that might resonate and it might help you improve your life. Like, that's the motive. It's like, okay, I made a shitty video with bad lighting. The audio was bad. I looked messy, but I'm like, let me see if the content actually resonates, right? Because all my other fitness videos and all that other stuff I was talking about, it wasn't getting that many views, wasn't getting that many engagements.
Didn't feel as aligned.
Didn't feel as aligned. I wasn't feeling like I was changing lives with the stuff I was talking about. With my clients, I was changing lives for sure, but for it to get to that point, I would have to sign them and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I realized that once I made that video, the video got like, I don't know, 10x the engagement of all my other videos. And so for me, one thing I always like to remember is, like, the market doesn't lie. The market tells the truth.
Yep.
If they like something, they'll tell you, right? And again, your body doesn't lie either. If it's in pain, if it's in suffering, if it's in anxiety, it's telling you something. You just got to learn to listen to it. So I was like, all right, let me listen to it. I made a couple more videos on that topic, and I realized that this, for some reason, is making a big impact, way bigger engagement. People are in my DMs like, oh my God, this hit me so heavy. How can I find this person? And all this other stuff happened. And so what I decided at that point is, like, okay, you got two options. You can continue to speak to CEOs, entrepreneurs, men looking to get in better shape. You can continue doing that, which felt more comfortable for me. Or you can speak to this new audience that is clearly resonating with your message. On TikTok, all of my followers were women aged like 22 to like, 40. And I'm like, okay, Aaron, what is the goal here? You want to help people. Okay, so there's two battles you could fight. A battle that you have maybe not so much power in, like maybe I have like a little knife, right? If I'm going to war, the analogy is war.
Yeah.
The battle with, like, speaking to women in this aspect of things, I'm going with an army with a bunch of rounds of ammunition, and I could potentially win this and make a bigger impact. I just did that.
Yeah.
And I just followed what they were asking. The cool thing is about content is, like, when you start getting good at it and getting better at it, and you're aligned and you're speaking about something that you actually give a shit about and you're comfortable talking about, people will start to ask you more questions, and then the content just becomes answering those questions.
Of course.
And I guess the second part to that was, how has it helped you? Is that what you?
Yeah, how's it helped your overall journey of content creation and building a business? Because I think that the foundation of every business is the person who starts it. So if there's no exploration there, the business will reflect that in some way or another.
I realized that my perception before of myself was, why would a woman listen to me? I'm a dude with a dude's perspective. Why would they give a shit? And after having hundreds of conversations now, because we all have things that we know about that we don't quite think other people would be interested in. But once you start to explore it and you start to see the feedback that you get, I realize now that I think a man's voice for a woman is powerful and vice versa. If you can actually listen and filter out the BS. And I had to realize that for me, I really have to deepen my consciousness as well. I have to be the person that is in a state where I'm comfortable speaking about these things. I loved what you said about a man who's a rock can only help a woman if he can help himself. And for a long time, I felt really good. Like I feel really good in my being, in my spirit, in my body. I feel comfortable with myself. And you realize when you speak to a lot of people in the general public, they don't have that. And so that's one direction where I'm really headed. And I can speak about this every day. That's why I went from forcing myself to make content about the fitness and all that sort of stuff. I would have to sit down and I had pages and pages of notes of what to talk about, but I would never do it because I didn't feel aligned. Whereas now I have an idea, and the first thing I want to do is pick up my phone and speak to my audience so I can help them with that particular thing. And it's like it's more of like I'm like a servant. I want to serve as opposed to like I'm putting myself in this authority place because I'm figuring out as I go at this point. So it's been great. It's been awesome, and I love it.
Yeah, it's night and day. One thing I really like about your content is it's very you. Like you can tell it's very aligned with who you are. Like how you act, how you're talking to me right now and who you are. I don't feel like there's this act that you're putting on in your content. No, it's the same. And I think that's something that everybody should strive to do in their content, regardless of what the numbers say. I think that's a very good test for people. Because the numbers could tempt you in either way. Let's say you're making good content. Like one of my buddies, his girlfriend has a fiance actually. She has a huge account or following on Instagram, like over 1 million.
Wow.
And she said that she was doing extremely well in fitness content and she was getting big numbers and she was doing all the things, but it wasn't aligned with who she was and it was killing her inside. And she changed and things have gone even better. But the data can tempt you in either way, whether it's not getting tons of views right away or what you want. If it's aligned with who you are, do you build on that or do you sell out? Do you completely take a left turn? And if it is getting you the numbers, but it's not aligned with who you are, do you continue to build in a direction that isn't aligned with something you're meant to do or something that actually is in line with your unique skills? And so I like the fact that your content is not highly edited. There's space. You'll say something and wait, and you're not going to cut that, and you're going to keep speaking. Was that an intentional thing that you did? Or was that something that you just kind of stumbled upon because it was naturally in your voice?
That's a good question. When I found out that authenticity was a higher vibrational state than even love, and we know how high love is in the level of consciousness, I'm like, there's something there. And at the time that I was getting consistent with this content thing again, beginning of the year, I told myself, I'm going to take this seriously. Never taken this seriously. I'm going to take this seriously now. It's about that time. And so I had to be real myself, and I, based off of like Atomic Habits, he says, make it as easy as possible to do the thing, the least resistance as possible. I thought to myself, what is the easiest way I can produce content? Pick up my phone, good quality audio, good quality, lighting, because I did acting for 10 years and I understand how light, camera, your eyes, angles work. It's like the technical things.
Of course.
But also it's just like, how can I make it as simple as possible, not having to create a whole production and having to pay to go to a studio? If I could just make my content of what I'm saying good enough that people watch and want to follow me based off of that, when I do build a habit, and this is how I was thinking in the beginning of the year, when I do build a habit of posting consistently for a long period of time, then I can upgrade it when that time comes. What I realized is, dude, I have videos that are like 500,000 views that are like 4 minutes long that are like unedited, that I literally made and posted within like 20 minutes max. So that made me realize, like, okay, I can go and spend $200 for a day to record content at a studio, and probably that'll get more views on average. However, if I can make sure the content is good, if I can get into this state where I can just be real and just like give them my energy, if I can penetrate through the camera and energetically shift them to do something, because dude, I am not an influencer. I aim to be influential. I don't really see I create content, but I'm not like a content creator. I don't put myself in that space because although, everybody's doing what they're doing, I'm not really focused on that. I'm focusing on like, okay, How can I actually impact someone's life with this 3, 4, 10, 30-minute video? How can this produce like a meaningful change in somebody's life? So that's intentionality, which, again, I learned this through acting. I think the general consensus of what an actor is for a lot of people is somebody that's fake. And I used to kind of think that before. When I got into this space, I realized it's the complete opposite. For you to be a good actor, for people to want to watch your shit, if you go to a movie and you actually are impacted by a movie, it's because that person felt that. It's because that person is in that feeling of what they want you to feel actually. And so once I realized that, one of the, I guess, biggest tips I have for any content creator to be more authentic is like, okay, first of all, imagine with your brain who is going to be watching your video. Imagine one person. Who is on the other side of that video watching it? Second part to that is like, how do I want to make them feel? Like, what is the emotion I want to make them feel? And then on top of that, there's like layers, but it's like, what do I want them to take away from it? And that's, I think, when I think about that, that's when the pauses and the shit come in, because I want to really articulate my words and my emotions and my energy to be able to do that for them. And that's where the emphasis and all that the authentic stuff that you're talking about, that's where it comes from. It's from the emotions that are within you that you want to make other people feel. And how people interpret it is how they're going to interpret it. That's not up to me.
Yeah. No, 100%, man. And it's funny because that's one of the things I always tell people with content. When it comes to content, play your game.
Yes.
Regardless of what the algorithm says is trendy, regardless of what big creators say. Of course, there's always new things to learn. There's more ways to expand your knowledge. But I like to think about it like this. You ever follow basketball?
A little bit.
Yeah, so...
Used to a lot more.
Yeah, when I was in high school, the same. When I was in high school, around 2015, 2016, the Warriors started to really pop. Like, Steph was at his peak, 400 threes in a season, Draymond, Clay. And a lot of people saw that and they're like, oh shit, small ball is the next big thing. That's what we all need to do. Do you know how many fucking articles and videos I saw about the big man is dying? And if you look at today's NBA, some of the best players are bigs, right? Jokic, Wemby, Embiid when he's healthy, right? Giannis is a big. It wasn't that big men were dying. It's that there was a new gap placed because everybody followed what the Warriors were doing, but couldn't replicate it because they didn't have the personnel. They didn't have Steph. They didn't have Clay. They didn't have Draymond. And before anybody tells me Clay's skill set is easily replaceable, 60 points on 11 dribbles, it's not. So they didn't have the guys to make it really work. But them trying to copy it left such a big opportunity. If you're big and you're skilled, dude, you can dominate because there's 25 teams now playing small in a terrible way.
Facts.
So you're just going to fucking rip everybody in half. And now, like, I don't follow basketball as much anymore, but I'm sure as the league goes, oh, we need to play big, we need to do this, there's going to be other gaps that come in from that. So I'd love to hear you talk a bit about how when everybody copies a trend, there's a gap left. And for you, authenticity, pausing, aligning energetically is a huge advantage, especially in the dating world, because you're attracting the kind of people who care about that stuff.
Well said. Gaps in the market, being able to recognize patterns, I think, is a meta skill that I'm working on very, very consciously. And it's something that I see the people that I look up to have a lot. First of all, I have my mentors in my life. I guess I would say Alex Hormozy is the guy that got me into business, like really got me into business. Like some of his old whiteboard videos, I would just watch those and it would blow my mind. Every video I'd watch would be like, oh my God. The way he can so simply articulate a very nuanced, like difficult subject really made me think, oh yeah, like this is for me 100%. And so what I realized is like, okay, authenticity is not so common, even amongst my friends groups. Like I don't really meet really authentic people often because you need to be courageous. There's certain things that go into it, the work that you've done and all that. It's more of an exceptional quality that everybody is capable of getting there, but it does take work. The second thing is like I realized the whole Hormozy captions, and I tried all those like quick cuts and all that. And what I realized I realized authentic content, like really simple content where a person would turn on the camera and just talk for 30 minutes would do really well, and it resonated with me. And those are the videos that were most impactful. So I'm like, okay, I'm a more of a long form kind of person. Let me try to bring some of that long form into short form. By making it super easy, by not adding to the problem of like really short attention spans, by just being real and fleshing a thought out to a point where by doing that, one thing I was conscious of is like I'm going to not attract people that have to swipe past that. So I'm going to have a more attentive, patient audience, which I'd rather have. Because I'm a person that talks like this anyways. So if you like my videos, you're going to love working with me. But if you like me for the quick cuts and the great edits, maybe you're not going to be so happy once you actually get to know me a little bit more. So I think where it's headed right now, and if you think about AI, think about how much mass-produced content is going to come out. I think the visual aspect of things aren't going to be as important. Hollywood's not going to be spending as much money into like the VFX and like, you know, crazy movies where like lights and all this kind of stuff happen, because you could just press a couple of buttons. Midjourney is going to create that for you, right? And so what is going to stand out? A real person that's extremely authentic, that is convicted in what they say, and community is going to, I think, become a really important thing, especially in person.
Yeah.
Like actual people getting to know each other and giving a shit and listening. That's why I think podcasts are like, I don't think they're going anywhere, honestly.
No. And it's funny, man, with AI, I've kind of gone back and forth on it a bunch. I think the place where I've landed on it is, it sounds minuscule, but today I had such an incredible, like, yes, like, this is what it's for. I was looking on Amazon for Christmas gifts, and my mom's like, what do you want for Christmas? And I told her nothing for like 3 weeks. And she's like, hey, give me something. I'm like, hey, fuck. So I go on Amazon, and I'm looking for, like, portable lights, because I travel a lot. I'm like, hey, and even here, like, the lighting's fine, but I could, in about 3-4 hours, it's going to be dark. So while I'm traveling, especially in Canada, having lighting is important. So I told my mom I'd like some lights, so I look on Amazon to see what the fuck kind of lights I should get. And so while I'm on Amazon, they have an AI built in that asks questions about the product. I'm
way.
oh, this is really helpful.
That's insane.
I like clicked on. I'm like, it's like, does this come with a charger? Yes, it does. Like, here's another list of questions that people ask about this. I'm like, hey, this is really helpful. But I think the angle of people getting way too into it, like I have this running bit with my girlfriend and her friend about like the AI LinkedIn bro, who's like, you know, your dad fell down the stairs and you're like on ChatGPT being like, ChatGPT, please help me, like, how do I pick up my dad properly? And, you know, just going above and beyond, like, over the top in how ridiculous it is. I think there are people who rely on it too much, and eventually the market's going to even out. The people who just want to create AI content, and yes, I'm sure it can look fantastic. Yes, I'm sure it can look as, you know, human as possible with how much it develops. But if somebody's posting 15 times a day, that's going to raise a flag in the minds of people who don't like that. You know what I mean? And so it comes down to, at the end of it, again, can you really show up? And can your message break through to people and actually activate them emotionally? So I'm curious to hear your thoughts on where the AI world is.
Dude, I completely agree with that. And I think I utilize AI probably every day to assist in my thinking. And I think if we can think of it that way, where it's like more of like your phone helping you become a better version of you, as opposed to it just doing all the thinking for you. I think studies are already showing that, I guess, semantic intelligence or semantic memory, where it's like certain facts of certain things has gone down, but like who cares because you have AI. However, the way people think, I think the way your mind processes information is extremely vital for you to practice, because anybody can ask any question onto AI and it'll get the answer. But if you can articulate a message in a certain way using the way you speak, your nuances, your history, trust, you know, all these different factors that are involved, and you speak about things that are maybe not so easily accessible, but more like a nuanced topic where it's like, oh, I just had this realization, and this is where my realization came from, and that realization that's relayed in a proper way that you communicate well to somebody else, that can have more of an impact than somebody searching like, how do I get shredded? And they use ChatGPT and they have a list of things, but like nothing is driving them to actually do those things.
Exactly. Yeah.
But by giving your story and by saying that this is where I was, this is where I'm at, and this is how much better I feel, that's more relatable and it's more impactful than reading it off a screen or hearing it from an AI voice, and you know it's AI.
Of course. And one of my mentors said that because the world is, how do I say this? His idea was that information is becoming so much more accessible. We have YouTube, social media, now AI feeding you information. So that's not the differentiator in terms of what makes an offer great and what makes a coaching offer successful. The differentiator, if you're a coach, consultant, mentor, is how well can you activate people, and how well can you create something that's unique and aligned? So not just like a unique offer, not just an aligned offer in terms of like, how does this stand out in reference to the marketplace as a whole, but how does this relate to who I am? Is this an extension of me? Because with how many people are building massive coaching businesses where they delegate and hire CSMs, and there's nothing wrong with that model, because trust is at an all-time low, proximity is something that cuts through the noise. And people are only going to want proximity to you if you're somebody worth following, if you're somebody who can activate people, if you're somebody who can live authentically and be in that energetic state.
I wholeheartedly agree with that. It's a wise mentor that told you that. Alignment is so key. And, you know, everybody's uncertain at times. I'm not saying I'm always certain. However, I do know that if you want to make something happen, one of the aspects of manifestation, law of attraction, which I'm not really so down to be like labeled in that space, because it's you know, it comes with a lot of woo-woo stuff. But I think at the end of the day, conviction, like true conviction and alignment, is one of the few ways that I found, if not the only way, to get to a result that is far from where you're at right now. It was spoken about on the call today, but you gotta be so self-believing, and you gotta spend time in this, like the dream slide, the goal slide that you know Vadim Zeland talks about. It's as simple as like extreme clarity with specification as to where you're trying to get to, understanding that version of you. How are they thinking about this particular topic? When I was not in great shape, I had a certain thought process when it came to the gym, when it came to nutrition, when it came to myself, when it came to food and everything. Versus now, when I think about who Aaron is, when I think about the gym, I think I'm capable. I think I'm strong. I think this is just who I am. It's my identity. The same way how your meditation is for you an identity, a part of it. Like, that's just what I do. It's like you're convicted in that. And if I ask you, like, is meditation beneficial for you?
100%.
You see that?
Yeah.
Versus if I were to ask you about a question or something that you want theoretically in your mind, and if I ask you, like, say, do you think you can make $1 million next month?
I mean, maybe.
Right? So now
is
it's
that
like,
even relevant? Yeah, exactly. Just all these questions that come with it.
it's like there's less conviction, and if we can get to the point where we are so convicted on the things that we actually want, and we see it as something that's not greater than us, but like it's just a choice that you make, that is, like, in my opinion, kind of like a prerequisite to getting there. Obviously there's steps to it and there's levels to it, but that's kind of how I see that.
Of course, yeah, there needs to be belief and knowledge, because there's a level of like knowledge and awareness fuels belief, even if it's something as metaphysical as like knowing yourself, right? Believing in yourself even though the money hasn't hit the account. Okay, well, I know myself, I know what I want, I know what I'm trying to attract. Okay, there's awareness there, there's some sort of digging, right? I love the example you said about, you know, is meditation beneficial for my life? I think another angle of that is, if I asked you, do you know anything about golf?
Very little.
Okay, so if I said, like, what's the right club if you're in a fucking, I don't even know the terms. Yeah, but like, what's the right club if you hit it off the green and you're in the rough and you've got two strokes to get to par and you're behind a tree? What should I do? You'd be like, I have no fucking clue. And
No
then, there could be somebody who knows golf listening to this and be like, didn't even ask the question right. But that's the point where it's like, if you're asking something that's so far away from your scope of knowledge, it's just impossible to have conviction because you can't even conceptualize it. It's actually funny. I remember I think it was last year, I was just walking on the street and some people asked me, there was like a huge protest going on, and they asked me about this really hot button topic. They're like, what's your opinion on this? I was like, I don't have one. They're like, why not? And they started listing all the moral things. I was like, okay, let me ask you a question. They're like, yeah. I'm like, who should the Raptors have taken first in 2006? And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah,
Good.
It's a question. They're like, I don't know. I'm like, that's how I feel. Like, yes, obviously they're not the same thing. No shit, I'm not stupid. The Raptors picking Bargnani in 2006 is not the same as people dying across the world.
Shut up, Bargnani, man.
Yeah, shut up, Bargnani. He should have been in the gym more. But I'm not fucking dumb. But it's the idea of, like, I just haven't read on the top. Like, I don't know. Like, if you're telling me stuff, I can tell you, yes, that's objectively wrong if people are dying, if people are killing other people. But if I haven't done the forward
Due diligence.
Due diligence, exactly. If I haven't been proactive to learn about the thing, it doesn't mean anything. It'd be like I told you, like, they should have taken LaMarcus Aldridge because of X, Y, Z. You'd be like, yeah. But if I'm like, but what about Rudy Gay? I'm struggling because the draft class is so bad. But I'm like, what about, fucking Rudy Gay or this guy? You'd be like, that's true, too. There'd just be no reference point of, like, what you actually believe in. So, I think that's such a good point about having conviction. I just wanted to add that, like, the angle of, like, awareness and knowledge fuels the conviction. Because if you have no idea what the fuck you're even getting into,
absolutely, man.
How do you know it's going to work?
That's such a good point, because people get mad at you for not having an emotional opinion. But I don't want to just give an emotional opinion. I want to give a well thought out, studied, opinion, but one that comes from a place of, like, I've done my research, but I'm also open to the other side as well. And that for me is a quote that I read. A trait of a really intelligent person is the ability to hold two opposing topics in your mind without judgment. And I live by that credo. I truly live by that. I'm always open to learning more, because at the end of the day, what do I know?
Yeah.
I think I know things, but do I really know anything? Socrates says he knows one thing, that he knows nothing. That's Socrates, dude. We study them still to this day. So who am I to think I'm above Socrates? And the Dunning-Kruger effect is the same idea, where the more you learn about something, the more you realize you know almost nothing about it. Yeah. Whereas the people that know the least are the loudest. And
totally.
One more thing I want to touch on that was, like, it's not like, okay, I truly believe that I can make $1 million next month and I'll get there. It's like, if I get myself to a place energetically, my frequency, my state of mind, my vibrational state, if I get to the point where I already feel like I'm someone that's making $1 million a month, like I am that version of Aaron today, now my intuition works for me and not against me.
Of course.
And so I think that's the importance here, is, like, instead of when a woman comes to me and says, like, I really want this, I want to partner by this day and I want a kid by this, it's like, you have put such a strong expectation of it where you're actually repelling it now.
Yeah.
Versus, I want you to spend time in the feeling that you already have it, that you know what that feeling feels like. So when you're around that kind of man that wants the same thing, it just feels natural.
Yeah. And you can click so much easier. Dude, you said something that I thought was interesting, because it made me think of what Siles said on the Founders Circle earlier today, where you're like, who am I to think I'm bigger than Socrates? Siles said something that I think this is so good, because it just hits so many, like, trigger points for me in a good way. He's like, nobody is bigger than me except God. Not the government, not lawyers, not institutions. Nobody. And I'm like, fuck, that's so good.
So good.
Because, like, at the end of the day, okay, who am I to say I'm bigger than Socrates? Okay, but Socrates is not bigger than you either. Because at the end of the
That's
day,
it.
If we are all children of God, and I firmly believe that, Socrates was God's son as much as you are. And so you're channeling your own version of God's message through you, through your own unique gifts, through your own unique experiences. So is he. Sure, more people have read about Socrates. I think that's a safe assumption to make.
I think so too.
But that doesn't invalidate anything that you come up with from your own divine intuition, from your own knowing, right? You don't need a source for everything in life. Oh, well, how do you know this, and this is going to work? How do you know this? You need to do this. When I dropped out of school, some people were like peppering me with questions. It got to the point where I was like, I don't have all the answers to your questions. I just know, like, deep down inside, I got to do this. And if this is the sword I fall on, I want it to be. And we'll go from there.
Beautiful, man. That's such a huge thing, man. I think there's merit. There's something to the fact that everybody that accepts a Grammy, all these athletes that win MVP, you name it, people at the top, one of the first people that they thank are God, Jesus. Because it's like, when you walk in with the faith that you are a child of God, that you are the same as everybody, you're not greater, you're not worse than anybody, it kind of takes the ego out of the way. And when the ego is out of the way, it's so much easier to be aligned, because so many reasons, man. And once you can learn to utilize the ego, not shut it off completely and not turn it on completely, but utilize it as a friend, life becomes a lot more interesting, and you can start to observe as opposed to just feel everything so like it. Yeah, calm mind, calm body, calm ego. Just it's good. It's good that way.
Totally. And this is relate back to the AI stuff we were talking about. So for my own offer, I'm writing everything out without using AI.
Nice.
Because when I started, I was like, I'm kind of scared, and I was leaning on it way too much. Because I was like, I've never done a coaching offer. How am I going to know? And I sent it to some friends to look at it. They're like, this is a good start, but, like, I can tell it was written by AI. And I was like, okay, I've never run a coaching offer before. I need to do this. and like I need to know and like actually figure everything out, because if I'm not deep in this process, AI is just going to take the uncertainty that I have, that I can only mitigate through action, and make it worse. And now I'm like, oh, this feels much more like me. I believe in this a lot more. Okay. But I think that AI is like that SpongeBob episode where he goes against Neptune in a cook-off, and Neptune like snaps his fingers and like thousands of Krabby Patties come together and they're stacking up and everybody's fucking losing their mind and they're all hyped. They can't wait to eat it. And SpongeBob, on the other hand, is like tucking in his patty with the cheese blanket and like putting smiley faces on the pickles.
So good.
And Neptune's patties taste like shit. And SpongeBob's taste amazing. He's like, this is the best thing I've ever eaten. And so it's not that I think AI is bad, but how can you be SpongeBob first? Like master it first. Like really get a deep understanding. And then put the superpowers on top of it if you feel like it's necessary. Because you might not. I know people who, a buddy of mine, he literally posted on a story the other day. He's like, the closer I've gotten to God, the less I've used AI.
Wow.
And that's just his experience. And I find a lot of value in that. It might not be everybody's though, but like figure out what works for you. There's a certain level of like, I'm going to just fuck around and find out. And I'm not going to ask permission to be a scientist. I'm not going to ask for permission to be curious. Because if I turn that part of me off, the thing that makes me special and magnetic is never going to shine through in the way that I want it to.
So well said, man. That's the reason why you can tell the difference between someone that is educated with content, educated with AI, versus someone that's educated through reflection, prayer, meditation, reading books from the great thinkers. You can tell very easily the difference between those two people. And so I think another aspect of content that I am really going to utilize is like whatever I learn, I'm going to teach through my own lens, through my intuition. And I think it's a lot more meaningful than, people that tell you, oh, I heard this happen because they watched a 10-second reel about it and now they just assume that is true. Versus I read a 500-page book and this is what I took from it after reading it a second time.
Yeah, and these are the experiences and the lessons I had from those experiences based on me launching myself out of my comfort zone. Not too far, but just far enough where you can't crawl back in easily.
Yes. I'm curious, man, what is the offer? Can you talk about it? I'd love to know.
Yeah, for sure. So I don't mind. The idea is I'll kind of read you some of my notes, but the idea is that it's the bare bones of actually, how do I want to present this? Let me look at it. Okay, so I'll read out the headline that I have from the offer doc right now. If you want to add 10 to 20K a month to your online business while building an audience that trusts you deeply, not needing to worry about where your next clients are coming from, getting leads to enthusiastically reach out to you with their credit card instead of having to chase them down or become a dancing clown in your content. It has nothing to do with a more refined content strategy, the volume you post, or learning algorithm hacks. It's hidden in an approach I discovered by accident after over 1.5 million USD made for my clients, 3 serious hospital visits, and paying off over 33,000 in Canadian in debt.
Wow. That's coffee right there.
Thank you. And then I'll let the juicier details be released when I present it to the world.
I love it, man. I love it. It's a simple attraction mechanism, 10 to 20K a month. Who doesn't want that? Everybody and their mom wants that. But it's like, how are we doing it? Oh, this sounds authentic. This sounds real. I want to know more about this guy's story. It's really good.
The point I have is that, like, of course, strategy is important, but it has nothing to do with you actually breaking. The program is called Becoming Algorithm Proof. Like, you can't do that until you learn how to become the kind of person people want to watch. Because when you're the kind of person people want to watch, you're the kind of person people want to get closer to. When you're the kind of person people want to get closer to, they are willing to pay top dollar for it.
So probably pretty mindset heavy.
It's kind of like, so there's 2 parts of it. There's the actual strategy, because it is important. But if all you do is this, you're missing out on tons of potential with building your business. So the strategy portion is like, okay, building content ecosystems, content that feeds into each other. Not just, okay, we got short form, okay, we got long form, okay, we got ads. How can you make it so that the next step is obvious? I want to watch more of this guy's stuff. I want to follow him. Okay, I want to watch more. Does he have longer form stuff to break down my biggest pain points in great detail? How do I work with him? And that's about building content ecosystems. 3 pillars. They work with each other, and it's really easy to get people hooked on what you do. Then the second part is like, well, how do you become the kind of person who people want to watch? And it's more than just being entertaining. It's more than just like camera presence. It's how do you become the kind of person people want to look up to? The kind of person who's able to channel their authentic, aligned, true self. And then how do you do the inner work to hold that energy for yourself, for your clients, and for the wealth that comes in? Because I learned both parts of these in the last little bit separately. I learned how to be somebody people wanted to watch and somebody who understood content, but I didn't have the capacity to hold energy for all that, which is why I went to the hospital, which is why I got in debt, which is why I had to bounce around and fail a bunch of times. And then once I married the two, it's like, okay, the last just over 6 months, I paid off 33K in debt, Canadian. I was at about 50. I'm supporting myself and my girlfriend financially.
Fire.
And living together across the world. Sorry, mom and dad, I told them I wasn't. Don't listen to this, they're not going to listen to it. So like, it's easy to look and be like, oh, you live in Thailand and it's cheap. Yes, that helps. But we travel quite a bit. I support us financially. Once I got to the point where I'm like, okay, cool. And she helped out with a couple things when we first moved in together. It wasn't always, I'm not going to sit here and be like, I was the man and I did all this. No, of course. Of course not. There were some things that she helped out with, and she's very graceful in terms of, we want me, and I say we because it's truly like, I want this really badly, she wants this really badly. I want to take care of things financially. And at the beginning, I had like no credit card space. And my cash resources were not at the place I wanted them to be. And I told her all this when we started dating. I was like, look, I really want to date you. I'm having such an amazing time with you. This is where I'm at. And if this is not okay for you, and if it's not what you want, that's okay. But I'm just gonna give you all my cards up front. This is the current situation in the 3D realm. Energetically, mentally, this is not what it looks like.
Abundance.
But you will only be able to experience that through how I act and through who I am, right? And she was like, yeah, that's cool. Like, this is what it is. And that's fine. And so I always did my best. I don't have all the receipts, but if she ever paid for something, I pay her back or pay her portions of it back or go above and beyond. So, like, yes, I do live in Thailand. Yes, there are portions when we went to Vietnam. It's super cheap in Vietnam. Like, literally a 15-minute grab ride on a motorbike, which is like an Uber there. You can take a motorbike, 15 minutes is 50 cents Canadian.
Bruh. That's insane.
Like, it's incomprehensible. Yes, but like, we traveled almost every month. We're doing things. We're not just like sitting at home and scraping by. But even so, if that was what we needed, it's what we would have done. Like, we were okay with that. But it's just to say, like, the inner work of being able to pay off 33K worth of debt out of 50K. I'm not fully out, but 33K in 6 months is, I think a lot of people will be happy with that. And support my girlfriend and travel and bring us back to Canada and do all these things and start working on my offer. Like, that didn't happen until the inner work was done consistently over a certain period of time without worrying about when it's going to fall together.
And the amazing part about that, congratulations, obviously, by the way, incredible. While doing that, it seems, and I know you're going to say this too, it seems like you had a great time in the process.
Yeah.
You weren't crippled by this number that people are afraid of in the 3D realm. You were like, this is a problem that I have the solution to, and as long as I can keep this good energy going, it's a good experience for everybody, and I'll make this work. And that is the masculine imperative right there.
Dude, it's so funny. I was so, like, before I made the decision to go to Thailand, because I was living in Vancouver at the time. I was like, hey, I'm going to go visit Kelsey in Thailand, and then I'm going to come back to Vancouver. Then we're going to meet up in Europe. Then we're going to do this. Then we're going to do that. And just for, like, a couple months leading up, after she had went back to Thailand, before I went, I think it was about a month and a half, I was so anxiety-ridden of, like, oh, man, what's the world coming to? What are the lizard people going to do? Like, my life's over. Like, fuck. And then when I made the decision, I'm like, I'm just going to go to Thailand, focus on making content. I'll find a job and figure it out. I was like, oh, wow. That really opened up. And it wasn't because I was running away from my problems. It's because I decided to do something that was really important to me. Like, my heart was really in that. And so all the other bullshit fell away because fear is not real. All the other bullshit fell away because I was like, this is just my mind trying to trick me. And now I don't worry about that stuff nearly as much. Sometimes it gets a hold of me, but I'm not perfect. But it's far less. And so until I was able to have the courage to really do what my heart wanted, and I was like, hey, can I just stay? She's like, I honestly wanted you to do that. So yes. I'm like, sweet. So I went there and I was like, okay, I'm just going to focus on making videos, figuring it out as I go. And then things started to accelerate as they did. But hey, when I only had one card with space on it and it was just 3K, I was still having a great time. I thought our life was so blessed. I think our life is still so blessed and it's going to continue to be so blessed. And we had so much fun while I was in a ton of debt. We had so much fun while I didn't have the flexibility that I wanted. And so I'm like, if this is what it's at right now, like I had like $6,000, $50K worth of debt, like a negative net worth, and we're having the greatest time ever. I'm like, yeah, there's no reason why I can't keep doing this. There's no reason why things aren't going to get better. This just doesn't make any sense.
This is a beautiful thing, man. If you can learn to enjoy having $3,000, like if that's fun for you, that's the only way 3 million is going to be fun.
Yeah.
For the long term.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And it's like, and again, it's not about, because I think sometimes people do a lot of damage control with the idea of dating. And I don't blame them. You don't want to get hurt. It's a very vulnerable state. But you can overdo it with like, how do men think? How do women think? How am I supposed to be? How am I supposed to align my energy? And that stuff's important. But again, there needs to be a part where you go, fuck all that. I'm going to be a scientist. And I'm just going to follow what I think is true. And there's sometimes a calibration point. But I was like, okay, this is what I really wanted in a partner. And I'm very detached from it showing up. And then it showed up very quickly in my case. And I was like, if I can give myself love and respect, I'm sure I'll find somebody who will give me love and respect. And of course, I had a very big list of things that I wanted and who I wanted to be. But there was no hiding. It was always honest. Like, hey, this is where I'm at. Okay, I'm cool with that. Okay, cool. This is where I'm at. Awesome. Sweet. And now it's so much easier to build from there without having to hide or play games or worry about dynamics and hyper obsess over it. And instead, just like be there, like really be there present in the moment.
So good, man. And it's quite aligned and quite kind of analogous, like your offer with mine. I'm still learning my offer as I go because this is a new audience, and I'm like in a place where I'm so fortunate to actually get a woman to open up to me because she trusts me and she can feel that she's vulnerable with me, because I'm not intimate with any of my clients. I would never do it for professional reasons.
Of course.
I feel like because of that, now it's kind of like I'm the masculine mirror that women can come to, where I can just give honest, straightforward. I'm not afraid to tell a person my true feelings about something that could offend them, versus like one of their friends or like another dating coach, which I don't even see myself as, just telling them what they want to hear. I'm not here to be a yes man. I'm here to tell you the truth, even if it hurts, because I know it'll set you free. And because of that, the technical stuff is like, this is what men look for. Like, you got to be in shape. Let's be honest. Like, we can't hide from that. But the second part is like, you have all the answers within. Like, we got to just find that. I got to be able to help you bring that out of you. And that's like the second and third part of the offer is that. It's like, sure, you need the technical things. Like the expertise that I have, I can help you get there. But like, to make it sustainable, to make it so that you don't rely on me forever, because I don't want clients to be clients forever. That's not what I'm looking for. I want the opposite. I just want to help them. All right, next. Who's next? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Or if they come back, it's because they're accountable for their actions and they just love the container.
That's it.
Because like there's a mentor I've been working with for over 2.5 years. And it's not because like, I need more fixing, but I'm like, I just trust this guy and we get along super well. And it's like, of course I want to keep talking to him.
And the accountability there too. It's just like, at the end of the day, you can't hide from that. Accountability is huge.
No, you can't. You can't. Okay, let's wrap this up. Aaron, where can people find you? This is a lot of fun. I'm like keeping one eye on the clock here.
Dude, it's easy, man. Speaking to you is not hard. Appreciate the conversation. It's been great. I've learned a lot. I've taken some notes, reflected a bit, so I appreciate that. My name is Aaron Sharif. You can search me up, Real Aaron Sharif, on all the platforms. If there's anything that pops up to you, if you have a question, I'm in my DMs myself. I don't have a setter yet, so feel free to reach out. I'm always happy to help.
Cool. Sweet. Okay, Aaron, I'm going to end this and then we'll debrief offline.
Perfect.
But everybody watching this, if you want more info on the offer, just reach out on Instagram. It'll be in the description below, and we'll go from there.
Cool.
Peace, everybody.